Is technology at your work distracting you from actual work? Do you spend too much time troubleshooting PC or internet issues? IT Enabled can help. Our team of IT specialists can help you tackle your technology troubles and get you focused on growing your business in no time. Call to schedule your technology consultation, 936-225-3329. IT Enabled. We're here to help.
Well, we're excited to have Mark Durand. Mark is the Executive Director of Workforce Solutions.
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you. Why don't you tell the listeners about your background, how, I know you're a lifelong East Texan, I believe, and then how you got to be at Workforce Solutions.
Okay. Well, I am. I'm proud to be from currently living in Jasper, Texas. Work here in Lufkin for Workforce Solutions, Deep East Texas. My bosses are 30 board members.
Wow.
And 12 county judges, which they are so innovative in the opportunities that they're providing and increasing with our opportunities to expand into educational and also meet the employment and the career opportunities is great. But I grew up in Kirbyville, Texas, graduated there, and then went off to college, came back. And when I did graduate, I went to work right out of school with DECOG, Deep East Texas Council of Government.
Yep.
Worked there 13 years, and then after that, went to work at Christus Jasper Memorial Hospital. Worked there 16 years as the assistant administrator, and then through the impact of Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, I lost my job. And so I consider myself as a product of the Workforce Center, thinking that I would go to work immediately, being a white-collar worker. I was unemployed for 5.5 months, had to reach out and try to find a job. And, not ever having to really look for a job after being employed that long, I found where the employment has changed. After 25 years is, when I first got out of college, I sent out one resume, and you just send it out to multiple employers and you get an interview. But then after I became unemployed after, 25, 29 years, it all has changed of how to find a job. Yeah. You had to go through the process of doing cover letters for each employer. Your resume and your cover letter was attached to keywords that were in job descriptions. A lot of employers go through scoring evaluations of resumes. And so with that, for 5.5 months, I was unemployed, but then I was blessed to be able to be hired as the Executive Director for Workforce Solutions, Deep East Texas. April the 17th, I'll be celebrating my 4th year.
That's great.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. That's great.
Time has flown. Mr. Hagelin, Wayne Hagelin, is my board chair.
Okay.
And he's great to work with.
Sure.
And he's a wealth of knowledge of Angelina County, also of Lufkin. Volunteers on a lot of boards and has been able to really connect me with people like yourself. And then attending the First Friday luncheons at the Chamber. And I tell you, you and Mayor Brown and the City of Lufkin has welcomed me. Coming in, and we serve 12 counties.
That's right.
But I know working here in Angelina County has really been an opportunity for me to expand and meet new people, and also hopefully help people in the service-oriented industry that we are.
Well, it's kind of like we talked to Lonnie with DECOG a week ago, and I said the first time I ever heard Lonnie talk and tell what DECOG does, I was shocked. But I have to say the same exact words. The first time that we had you speak at First Friday after I had joined the chamber and you told what Workforce Solutions does, I was shocked. I didn't know the plethora of things that you offer people in 12 counties. So let's start there. Let's start with what does Workforce Solutions do for our community?
Well, the perception is that we're an unemployment office.
Right.
And
that's what I thought the first time.
And then the second thing is people think that we only work with unskilled, unqualified, unemployed individuals. And as I described in my introduction, we work with people of all facets.
Right.
A lot of us have been laid off. We've had the white collar, the blue collar, especially with the pandemic that we've went through and seen our unemployment numbers rise, is we work with a lot of people that are just going through changes. With a lot of companies that are downsizing, different things like that. But what our goal is really our mission is to provide a quality workforce for our employers in Deep East. And so we serve the same 12 counties as the DECOG, as Lonnie and his team do. And we have 6 workforce centers. And those workforce centers are available so that people can come in if you're unemployed, if you're employed, or underemployed. You can actually come in and look for jobs. You don't have to be eligible for any services. Our resource room is available where employers post jobs. If you're posted a job on any of the websites like Indeed or anything like that, it links into a system we call Work in Texas. And so employees looking for jobs can come in and match with their skill set. We also have talent acquisition specialists that can work with you individually in helping you do resumes. They can help you with any type of interview techniques, how to dress for an interview, how to answer interview questions, basically just preparations and getting those soft skills. From our employers, that's one of the biggest things we hear is we can teach them the skills, but a lot of people don't have those soft skills, critical skills they need. So our workforce centers can do that. And also in our workforce centers here in Angelina County, Polk County, and Nacogdoches, we're co-located and co-integrated with the vocational rehab services. And so people with disabilities that are coming into our centers can also receive assistance in those areas. But also the vocational rehab in all 12 of our counties, travel within that. But then in our 6 counties that we do not have workforce centers, we have a rural service strategy. And in that rural service strategy, we're working now, we just received some funding where we're putting up computer kiosks. And we partner with some of the nonprofit organizations that are willing to let us put that in. And I'm calling like a mini resource room where individuals can come in, look for jobs, do resumes, different things like that, very similar to what they would come into one of those 6 counties that had a workforce center. So it gives them those same advantages because, as in our rural areas, some of the barriers we have is the broadband, the internet services, transportation, childcare. So with that offers a lot of the initiatives that we can provide through these services. And then the other thing is that a lot of people don't associate workforce with childcare.
Yeah.
And that is our second funding, and that's actually the largest funding that we have. And that is to help individuals that are either in training or that they're employed, but maybe they still need that help with childcare. So we have childcare agreements with 97 childcare providers in the Deep East Texas region. We have approximately about 1,800 children that are enrolled, and we help with those funding for them. So it's based on their income and eligibility. Some families have to pay a certain amount, but we offset that cost to that provider. Also with the early learning that initiatives that are going on is the Texas Rising Star, and we work with, there's 43 Texas Rising Star centers out of those 97 that we have, and so we help them with we call it a higher quality of childcare. We help them purchase curriculum. We make sure their teachers have certifications, and they're so that when those students are ready to go into pre-kindergarten, hopefully they're able to read, write, know their ABCs, different things like that, so that they're getting that advantage when they enter school, because we know it's a very competitive nature going into the public school, and most of our students that we have will be entering public school. So this hopefully is helping the educational institutions that those children are feeding into there. Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. You guys really cover a lot. Yes, sir. We actually do video work with you on the Texas Rising Star side with the kids stuff, and I had that same impression. Like I thought it was just strictly an unemployment office, and had when we first did our first video consult, I didn't even know you did anything at all with kids. So it was a real surprise what all you can do, and I love the story that you gave. Your backstory, having actually come through that program and been in need of the services that you provide. That's really something. That's interesting. I love that.
Well, I'm on the Jasper School Board, and when I ran I'm on my second term now, is of course one of the top vote getters, and living in Jasper for 25 plus years. I have 2 children, one graduated in 15, the other one graduated in 18. I thought when I got laid off, I call it severed. When I got severed, I thought I wouldn't have any problem finding a job because, I was connected to the community and things. But, it's tough, and a lot of times you're looking for that specific job. And, in rural areas, there's a lot of small employers. We have over 7,000 employers in the Deep East Texas region, and a lot of those are small employers. And so I found it it really was an eye-opening experience for myself. And I think, and I hope that I'm able to utilize the experience that I had to help the others that are out there looking. And, that's what I tell my board staff and our contractor that provides those services. Don't lose the connection with your customer, because we never know what barriers they're facing or the challenges. As we mentioned, some of those is transportation and the broadband services and internet, education levels, and so we face, in our rural areas, such as, we have in Deep East, there's a lot of barriers. So don't lose connection with the customer that we serve.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You talked a lot about, when you went through those, that career search, how it had changed a lot, right? So that it used to be, you go in with a resume and you give somebody a firm handshake and, okay, we'll call you next week. When can you start? And that has changed a lot. Technology has changed that. How has your organization changed with that? I know there's some really cool things you're doing with like apprenticeships and IT and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit about that and kind of how that's changed?
Yes, sir. One of the things I think that an impact that we have for all of our customers is the resume change.
Mm-hmm.
Used to you would have that one-page resume,
right?
And of course we still try to limit that to make sure it's that specific information. But employers now are they're so busy. And a lot of times, they see the resume. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. And, your first selling point is what they see on that paper.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to make it as attractive as possible so that employer is receiving that. And then the other thing is the skill set. So that's one of the things is how, my workforce board, my 30 members, are so innovative. And I'll tell you, just like here in Angelina County, I don't want to name all 30, but when you look at Mr. Haglin, Mr. Lee, Gene Lee, I have TJ Caldwell at Lockheed, Marissa Phillips, there at Buckner, Tyann Dietz, and we have some of our VR and different ones. But, they are so tied to how education is going to improve the career of someone. And so with our apprenticeships, as we looked at, as the pandemic has hit, a lot of things have went virtual, went remote, and we've experienced that. And we know that businesses are not going to operate the same way they have in the past. So with our apprenticeship, there's a request for application that the Texas Workforce Commission has put out, and it is for IT expansion. So we have partnered with a company called the Legacy Institute for Financial Education, LIFE. Gentleman named Joe Caesar.
We love Joe.
We know he's a great guy, and he's very similar to my board, very innovative. What opportunities are out there, and he has registered with the Department of Labor as a registered apprenticeship in the Deep East Texas for IT, information technology. And so with this RFA, we felt like this would be a great opportunity for us to partner with him. And so with apprentices, you have to have the employers. You have to have their buy-in because it's a partnership of educational learning, but also on-the-job learning. And so with Joe, he has got the curriculum and also got the instructors in order to do the instruction side of the apprenticeship. And then with the employers, hopefully that they will set time aside for that employee that they feel like can advance within their organization or maybe needs a higher skill set. So if you have someone maybe in a start out position and they see this person has the skill set to maybe be a network administrator or advance up, is what we can do is Joe can do the instruction and the training, and then with the employer, we can help them offset those wages of them during that training period. And so if you have that person, so if they're working 8 hours a day, and maybe they say, okay, we'll allow that person to go to training for 2 hours, that other 6 hours they're working with a mentor or trainer, then we can help that company offset those wages in increasing the skill set of that employee that they already have. And a lot of our employers are also hiring new employees. So those that come in and want to be an apprentice in the IT, we can get that training and say maybe a company needs a help desk person. We can do maybe a 3-month training to get them those basic knowledge, Microsoft products, credentials, things like that, so that then they become eligible for hire to those companies that they may not have had that training when they went in the first time. And again, saving companies money is a benefit.
Absolutely.
And so hopefully with that, plus that partnership, and then having a more higher skilled workforce, as they compete both locally and statewide, and also globally.
That's right.
With that, because we're seeing some of our businesses that have been able, have moved some of those things outside of not only Texas but also the U.S. There.
That's an awesome program. I've never even heard of IT internships and apprenticeships. That's really cool. That's really great.
Well, you mentioned that some of your board members they are keyed in on education and they know how important that is. How are you linking all of the education with the employment?
Okay. Well, one of the things we have this summer, and we were actually trying to do it last year, and the pandemic hit us, but we have a program called the Teacher Externship. And this is where we had a goal of getting 30 CTE, career technology education teachers, within the 12 counties. And the partnership was placing those CTE teachers within businesses for a period of time. And it's only a 1 week period. So this year we're scheduled for June the 14th through the 18th. So we want to take a CTE teacher that's in maybe automotive. We don't want to put them into to information technology. We want to put them into that organization, that business that actually is an automotive company.
Okay.
Interesting.
So we looked at our demand occupation list, like manufacturing, automotive, information technology, health sciences, places like that, those CTE teachers. Now, the CTE teacher and the ISD had to agree and be willing to give up that week of their summer. And so we got the 30 teachers easily. Now we're in the process of matching them. So the first day, they come in and we set the goals and objectives for that teacher and that business. So they meet and say, okay, this is what we want to accomplish. Then the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that teacher actually goes into that business, and the business maybe is like a mentor. They do job shadowing. That teacher finds out what does it take in order to go to work at Lead Trans Services or one of our auto dealerships to become that mechanic. Then on Friday, we meet back again, and that teacher develops a lesson plan that they pay back into their school district to teach those students.
The kids.
Right.
Teach those kids.
With that new experience.
That's fantastic.
Oh, that's great.
And, we offer a stipend to the teacher for giving up that week. And then our employers, they are willing to do this. We've got some companies that are veterinarians that are willing to participate. We've got manufacturing companies. We've got some of our hospitals that are in health sciences.
Interesting.
So it's been great. So we're in the process now. We've got our 30 teachers. We're in the process now of matching those with those employers.
That's great.
And again, we feel like this will be a great opportunity, to make sure that those students know, because we're hearing so much from our students that education has changed so much with counseling and different things like that, but what's out there, what's available, what's in demand, and how do I get a job at your company? It's different things like that. The other thing that we have is we just got some funding for a career education outreach specialist.
Oh, nice.
And this is where we've hired a young lady, and she actually worked for Stephen F. Austin in their career pathway or career matching system there. But she will work with students from the 7th grade through 12th grade. And so during that time, she's able to give that student information of what jobs are out there, labor market information, basically about, what's the unemployment, what's, how do you go out and look for jobs. She'll do career planning with them. She'll also do some career events like job fairs, so that employers will come in and tell them a little bit about, how did I become this type of, how did I start this business? How did I get to where I'm at now? What does it require? Different things like that. And so also we see where a lot of our students, they don't know, with what funding is available for them.
Right.
And so through our Workforce Center services, we're able to assist people with tuition assistance and things. And so a lot of students think they can't go to school because of the cost. Also, parents think the same thing. And so hopefully with the information that we provide, they can know what's available, what help is there for them. Also, it's sometimes I think we're pushing our children a little bit too hard, but making that decision at an early age of what you want to go to. Because, for instance, I use my son, for example, is graduating in 2018. Well, when he got to his senior year, he'd had everything completed except what he was required to take. But he still had to go to school, So a lot of times they're put in classes that maybe they have, it's maybe no interest in things.
Sure.
And very grateful, take him, for instance. He went into an automotive class. Well, he learned how to change oil, because I'm not a technical, but he learned how to change oil and do a few things. But was he qualified to go to work at an auto dealership? No. Okay. But if we can get these middle school students to say, hey, this is interesting. Maybe I need to, as a freshman, go into automotive or into welding, get 4 years from that 9th through 12th.
That's right.
Then maybe 2 years at Angelina College or another technical school. They've got 6 years. They become more employable and an asset to that employer when they go to work. So as we start out at that 7th grade and giving them the information they need. And then the other thing is parent involvement, is we want to make sure that parents are getting involved. So we feel like maybe at that early age, if we can get parents introduced to what services that are out there, then they can give that guidance and direction to their children as they choose those career pathways. Yeah. Because we know it's getting more and more competitive as we go forward.
It is. And that's a really interesting program. It's such an interesting thing when, kids are going through that high school age. You've kind of got like this 1 or 2 year period where you have to, you're 17 years old and you've got to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, right?
Yes,
and you've got to kind of figure that out. And I remember
not a whole lot of 17-year-olds that know that.
They don't.
Right,
and now, as much as accelerated as that process is, you've got kids who are going to college while they're still in high school. So you're even coming out younger, right? And you don't know what it is. And like I look at our business, and I attribute a lot of that to, I went to a really forward-thinking, progressive high school, and we had these elective classes, and some of them were IT classes, and they would just like give us really expensive cameras and like set us free, like, go make video stuff. Yes, and because I had access to that and I was exposed to that, that became something that I was interested in and became a possibility for me, right? And had I not been exposed to that, I would have had been in that situation where I was 17, 18 years old and like, okay, let me commit to the rest of my life or something, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. So that's a really great program. I really admire that. That's great.
And, we're seeing, and stats show that 3 to 5, when students enter college, 3 to 5 times they change their degrees.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that's costly to families.
Yeah,
when they do that, you get to that junior year, and all of a sudden, instead of going into nursing, you want to go into being a chef or something.
Right.
And so, hopefully, by introducing them at an early age, they can learn a little bit more, about that career. And different things like that.
And that's going right along, I didn't mean to interrupt you, right along with our manufacturing alliance that we have, and really trying to work with y'all and with DebtCog and all these other, key organizations to be able to get these kids plugged in and to be able to get people re-educated if they've lost jobs and be able to change career paths. So it all goes hand in hand. And
yes, ma'am.
It's fun to be able to see how everything plays such an integral role, but that when we all come together, it's all for the same good of Lufkin and Angelina County.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things kind of tying into the education is there's a job and education training grant we call it the JET grant. And this is for ISDs that can expand their CTE programs. They can buy equipment. Some of them are equipment only. And one of the ISDs that just recently got that was Huntington ISD, Mr. Flowers.
Nice.
There. And so they're expanding their health sciences.
That's great.
They got that so that they can train, get for those nurses.
That's right.
As, especially with the pandemic that hit and the COVID,
Oh, yeah.
The need for nurses. And then you have, not only your hospitals, but your home health and your hospices and things like that. So a big demand for those occupations. But, you look at that JET grant, and it comes to them through the workforce and Texas Workforce Commission. That's one of the schools, and they just released it again. We had 5 ISDs within our 12 counties that applied for that grant. Wow. We don't know which ones will be funded right now, but you see, again, those school districts, those superintendents that are really being proactive in growing, their CTE programs so that they can meet the needs of the employers. And then the bonds that a lot of our school districts now are trying to pass or have passed that they're expanding their CTE programs. So again, I think the education, our superintendents are doing a great job in looking at what those demand occupations are so that they can meet the needs of those employers within our region. Because, we want people to go to work, but at the same time, we want people to stay here in Deep East.
Right. Yeah.
We know they're not all going to, but we see that, as Tyann mentions a lot of time, is with our trade skills. We're seeing probably 5 to 7 years that we're going to see a real turnover, of retirement and different things like that. How are we going to replace those? Construction trade skills. And so looking at how we can, our welders and our carpenters and things. And so the Habitat, we have a partnership with the Habitat for Humanity of here in Angelina County. And so what we did is again, the COVID kind of pushed us back a little bit, but we're helping and assisting with some funding for them to build 2 projects, 2 homes. And Angelina College is our third partner.
Okay.
And so we're able to help them buy the supplies, the equipment, things to build that house. Angelina College, their HVAC and their electrical students are going out and volunteering at those sites. So they're learning how to build, on-site construction of those homes. And so we're helping offset the cost, but then those students, about 30 students, are getting hands-on experience working with those contractors while they're building that house. So again, not only through that 7 through 12, but with Dr. Simon and Angelina College, again, that partnership to train those students so that those contractors will be able to hire them. Like Mac Williams and Son, they're one of the ones that work with the Habitat, and so working and learning how they install and do the duct work and different things like that. So we're excited about where we're partnering with our education institutions.
Love that.
That's great.
Well, that's great. So if people are in need of these resources, where can they find you? How does that process go if someone needs help finding a job or whatever it is that they need? How do they find you? How does that work?
Well, one of the biggest things is we just revamped our website.
Great.
And we've heard some we want to brag on a little bit. We've heard some really good comments.
Great.
That some good information. But on that we have it's www.debtwork.org, Deep East Texas Work. And they can go on there, and it will give you the addresses and phone numbers of all of our 6 workforce centers.
Great.
It'll give you the locations there. And here in Angelina County, we're out on John Redditt Drive, right next to E-Tech there. But also, we're really trying to boost our social media, our Facebook and things. And so every Monday, we look at what we call hot jobs, and we have Job Now. And so we look at those employers that are needing employees right away. And so any new job postings that are posted during the week, we put that on a Job Now. So we do that on social media. We send that out to anyone that is a friend of Workforce Solutions. And so we try to spread the information there. And then also, as you mentioned, working with you is trying to get pamphlets and information, billboards and different things like that. We're kind of limited on how we can advertise based on our funding, but you just get innovative in how you can reach out.
That's exactly
and the
right.
best thing is word of mouth.
That's
And I cannot thank the chamber enough. Is like I said earlier, is how you not only have welcomed me into Angelina and Lufkin, but the opportunity to speak at the First Friday Luncheon, having being able to do the podcast. But you've always been able. We got information is to share. So our partners in the word of mouth that we have is really good. And then my workforce board members are really out there selling the programs now. I shouldn't say are really out there selling the services.
Right.
Because we want to get out. We don't want to be known as a program. We want to be known as we're here to serve.
That's right. Well, you are, and you serve well, and your team is so nice to work with.
Yes, ma'am.
They're great. So thank you for all that you do for us, Mark.
Well, thank you. And and that's the there are those grant opportunities that are out there. We try to tell our partners is that we're there as a mechanism that we can pull labor market data for you. We can, things that you need when you're applying for grants. A lot of this you don't have to research your own. We already have it.
We pick up the phone and call.
Yes, ma'am. And that's the good news. Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. Well, we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate you coming on here and kind of sharing your heart and everything that your organization does for our community and And we thank you so much for your time. And we want to thank everyone who's listening. We want to thank you so much for listening to this podcast again this week. And if you'll do us a huge favor, if you'll subscribe wherever you're listening so you can get these episodes every week when they drop. If you'll also do us another huge favor and rate and review the podcast wherever you're listening, that just helps other people in our area find the podcast if it's something that they're interested in. And if you want to watch the video version of this podcast, you can find it on the Chamber YouTube page and on the Chamber Facebook page. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.